With 187 Pokemon in Pokemon Champions and 59 Mega Evolutions to choose from, it can be a little bit overwhelming for a new player to figure out which Pokemon should be on their team. There are a lot of really amazing Pokemon in this game, from the powerful Charizard Y to the ever-present Incineroar, but today all I want to do is give you the top 10 Pokemon in the game, in my opinion. Now, this top 10 list will include Mega Pokemon, however, due to the item commitment and Mega commitment of using a Mega Pokemon, they probably won't be ranked as high as you think. For this video, I want to point out the top 10 Pokemon who you need to know their function in the game to be able to succeed. These Pokemon provide a lot of value game to game and are able to fit on a wide variety of teams. So without further ado, let's just go ahead and talk about the top 10 Pokemon in Pokemon Champions. Let's just get right into it. If you guys enjoy, leave a like, subscribe, check out the Patreon, become a YouTube channel member, hype the video, all of that. And hey, you definitely want to subscribe because at 300,000 subscribers, I'll be ranking every bench in Lumiose City. Let's just begin. Before we begin, I do want to give an honorable mention to a few Pokemon. Those are going to be Tyranitar, Talonflame, and Aegislash, who just barely didn't make my top 10. That might sound insane not to put Tyranitar in a top 10, but I just think that with the other weather Pokemon you can use in the game, Sand isn't like at the top of the list at the moment, and it is really good on certain archetypes. I think this would be a solid 11th place, or rather 12th place, because I'm going to let you know something. Incineroar would be number 1, so we're just not going to talk about him in this video. We're going to talk about every Pokemon except for Incineroar. But Tyranitar would be like just outside the top 10, just because Sand is really useful. Rock Slide is very powerful. It's a dark type, meaning it has access to stab knockoff. It's immune to prankster moves, and it just enables Pokemon like Excadrill to do their job even better. Talonflame is just outside of the top 10 as well, because Talonflame is a priority Tailwind setter. We only have one other of those in this game, and that's Whimsicott. It also has the capability of one-shotting Sneasler and Whimsicott with dual Wing Beat and a Sharp Beak, and it just has a pretty good support move pool, like Quick Guard, like Tailwind, like Will-O-Wisp, all that. And the final Pokemon that didn't quite make my top 10 is going to be Aegislash. Aegislash is an incredible Pokemon. Its stats are through the roof. It is a very difficult Pokemon to play around because of how well it matches into what are considered some of the best Pokemon in the game. It completely walls most Sneasler sets. It's able to beat Eternal Floette with a single Iron Head, and it has access to fighting coverage to deal with Pokemon like Tyranitar and Kingambit. So yeah, it's just outside the top 10. With that covered, let's get into our number 10 slot. Once again, we're not including Incineroar. Number 10 is Aerodactyl. Aerodactyl is a Pokemon who has seen the most amount of success it has in any game at this point, sheerly due to the fact we have a very limited dex. Its 130 base speed goes way further in this game due to the overall lower speed tiers, and its access to Unnerve to prevent opponents from eating berries, which most teams have multiple berries on them in this game due to the low item pool, and its access to dual Wing Beat to one-shot Sash Pokemon like Whimsicott and like Sneasler is really useful, but above all else, it's like the fastest non-priority Tailwind user in the game, and its access to Rock Slide and Wide Guard makes it really, really useful into Sun Team matchups. Overall, Aerodactyl is just a really strong Pokemon, and it isn't a Pokemon that really should be overlooked. It feels weird putting it in top 10 and keeping Tyranitar out of top 10, but I really do think that Aerodactyl will age really well as things go forward. I'm taking off my hat. I don't know. I'd rather deal with the bedhead than have to deal with the shadow the hat casts on my face. At number 9, I'm going to put Whimsicott. Whimsicott is probably the single best Tailwind setter in the game. Its wide access to support moves off of its Prankster ability makes it really powerful, and the fact that it's not able to be redirected by Rage Powder from Sinistcha means that it's able to Encore Lock a lot of Pokemon with not a lot of counterplay, as Sinistcha is the premier redirection user in this game. Its ability to pair super well with Mega Charizard Y by resetting Sun for it and Encore Locking Pokemon that want to go for Protect is just so super powerful, and the simple lack of fairies in this Pokedex means that having access to Stab Moonblast, even off of a pretty low base 77 special attack stat, means that Whimsicott is going to be a very good choice for your team if you're trying to go for a more hyper-offensive playstyle. That being said, Whimsicott also works on non-hyper offense teams. It works super well next to Pokemon like Kingambit, like Incineroar, things that force you to protect on like a Fake Out or a Kowtow Cleave. Like just that sheer pressure that Whimsicott's able to capitalize off of by Encore Locking is really good. It also has tools to support special attackers like Fake Tears and just the ability to be a nuisance. It's even a Trick Room setter. Whimsicott just has too deep of a bag of tricks to ever be considered outside of a top 10 in this game. At number 8, I actually have Sinistcha. Sinistcha is a Pokemon that is surprisingly powerful in this game. It's decent bulk with 71 base HP, 106 base defense, and 80 base special defense, combined with its actually really good 121 base special attack. It feels weird reading that out loud because it doesn't feel like it has that special attack stat unless you click Machigacha into a super effective Pokemon, which a lot of Pokemon don't want to deal with Machigacha. It is a very good Pokemon. Ghost type means that it's not able to be faked out, and it's really easy to set up Trick Room with it, as its high bulk and ability to hold an item to increase its longevity, whether it be a resist berry in the Aka berry or the Cobra berry or the citrus berry, is going to be something that lets Sinistcha play the game a lot more effectively. But Sinistcha also just walls out a lot of Pokemon. Yes, Rage Powder allows for it to absorb hits from Pokemon like Garchomp or Excadrill, who lack super effective coverage to hit Sinistcha, but more than anything, under Trick Room, Sinistcha becomes like an offensive threat while also threatening burns with Machigacha. Machigacha heals Sinistcha, but it's also a decently powerful spread grass move that can burn the opponents. There are a lot of Pokemon in this game. This metagame is a very physical metagame if you're not running Charizard Y or Mega Floette. Most of the best attackers are physical attackers that do not want to get burned. Kingambit does not want to get burned. Garchomp does not want to get burned. Sneasler does not want to get burned. Those guys are like some of the best Pokemon in the game, and just being able to threaten burns onto them, redirecting hits into yourself, going for Trick Room, and I haven't even mentioned Hospitality. This thing heals partner Pokemon for 25% every time it switches in. That is a Citrus Berry heal on command. It is such a powerful Pokemon, and it's just overall utility on tons of teams, whether it be hard Trick Room or balance, is something that a lot of Pokemon want to have next to them. At number 7, I have Mega Gengar. Mega Gengar is the first Mega on this list, and it might be considered sacrilege to put it at number 7 and not like the top 5. But I do think that Mega Gengar is currently lacking the results I would need to put it any higher on this list. It's not that Mega Gengar is bad. Mega Gengar is incredible. It's better than most Pokemon in the game. However, I think that with the existence of Pokemon like Incineroar in Modern VGC, who can Parting Shot out of its Shadow Tag ability, which traps all Pokemon who are not Ghost type on the field, and the existence of Pokemon like Kingambit, who do not mind taking the Intimidate from partner Incineroar and then dealing super effective damage into Mega Gengar, makes Mega Gengar a little bit less powerful than it was in previous gens. That being said, Mega Gengar has an absurd stat distribution with 170 special attack, good bulk over round, 60 HP with 80 defense isn't that bad. Its special defense is also really good at 95, and its 130 base speed means that it's outrunning the vast majority of Pokemon in this game, speed tying with Aerodactyl, who we already said is among the fastest in the game. Mega Gengar is able to run Icy Wind for speed control. It's able to run Disable with a partner Encore user like I've seen Sableye or Whimsicott be really annoying next to it. You're able to just Perish Trap for an endgame, and even just Perish Trap on lead. We've seen a lot of teams running Shukaberry Incineroar next to Mega Gengar and just going for the Perish Trap immediately, pairing that with Sinistcha, Parting Shot Incineroar, and a bunch of other just really annoying Pokemon that could just sit on the field for a while and pivot in and out to let Mega Gengar keep that lock going, makes Mega Gengar a very frustrating Pokemon to play against. And even in a non-Perish role, even in a non-supportive role, its Shadow Tag ability allows you to lock down the field, so your ultra-powerful Pokemon, like a Sneasler, like a Kingambit, like a Garchomp, can force the opponents to stay in on it, and they just have to play the game at an inherent disadvantage if they don't have pivoting moves. Mega Gengar is super strong, I just don't think it's as strong as it used to be. Coming in at number 6, I have Mega Charizard Y. Now, Mega Charizard Y is a Pokemon who has something that is really lacking in this game, and that is a powerful spread special attacker. There's only a few notable spread special attackers in this game, and Mega Charizard Y is probably the most common of all of them. A lot of people think that Mega Charizard Y is hard stuck on Sun teams next to a Venusaur and just has to play that playstyle, but that isn't true whatsoever. Mega Charizard Y actually has seen a lot of success on just non-Sun teams where it just plays its role on its own. It pairs super well with Garchomp due to its ability to be immune to Earthquake as it's a flying type, and ground fire coverage is really good together, so you're able to spam Heat Wave, spam Earthquake, spam Rock Slides, whatever you need to do. It just hits super duper hard. Its Weather Ball is oppressively strong, and its Overheat is a one-shot button. For people who are familiar with Overheat Chi-Yu, this is stronger than that. Overheat from Mega Charizard Y is one of the strongest Overheats we've ever had in the game. It is just a one-shot button, even on certain resists if you help it hand it. And Mega Charizard Y just patches a lot of holes. 100 speed is actually really good in this game where we don't have really fast Pokemon like Fluttermane running around. We do have Pokemon that are way up there in speed tier, like Dragapult and like Mega Greninja, but these Pokemon aren't relevant enough in the metagame for Charizard really to care. Charizard also pairs well with Venusaur to be able to go for Sleep Powder, Sludge Bombs, Earth Power, whatever it needs to support Mega Charizard Y, as Mega Charizard Y is super weak to Rock Slide, but pairing it with these Pokemon like Venusaur, like Sneasler, that can just deal with rock types, it makes Sand a lot more playable. And its ability to pair well with Whimsicott, which already pairs well with a lot of other Pokemon, means that Whimsicott can reset Sun for it and just go for Heat Waves over and over again. Mega Charizard Y is undeniably probably like a top 3 Mega in the game. There is discourse as to whether or not it deserves that placement. A lot of people are calling Mega Charizard Y a fraud, but I think that we just can't deny that this game has limited counterplay to Sun. The weather war is more prevalent than it's been in basically any non-restricted metagame we've seen so far. If Sun goes up, you need either to set Trick Room up and deal with that Sun with a Rock Slide attacker or something that just beats Mega Charizard Y, or you need to have your alternative weather to deal with it. It's just that good of a Pokemon. Kingambit is just a staple Pokemon of VGC at this point. It performs super well in Gen 9 with that very power crept dex, as it is a Gen 9 Pokemon itself, but in this game, it feels like the big dog. Kingambit feels like a Mega Pokemon. It has incredible bulk with 100 HP, 120 defense, and 85 special defense, and its attack stat at 135, only getting boosted by Intimidates and Icy Winds, means that in this metagame where there is a lot of Icy Wind being thrown around for speed control and Scarf Rotom going for Electro Web, it means that Kingambit has a lot of opportunities to come in and be able to threaten a +2 Sucker Punch into Pokemon with Black Glasses. Even neutral, somewhat bulkier Pokemon like Garchomp, Sucker Punch with Black Glasses does threaten that one-shot. It is a scary Pokemon, and it's one of the few Steel types in the game. Steel is a very desirable type right now with Mega Floette running around. It being able to click Iron Head to one-shot non-bulky Mega Floette, and if it doesn't one-shot, you just follow up with Sucker Punch, makes it just inherently valuable, and the fact that it can deter Intimidate from other partner Pokemon because you don't want Intimidate to activate Defiant on Kingambit makes it just super duper useful. Its type synergizes well with a lot of really common Pokemon, like it is ×4 weak to fighting moves, but it isn't that hard to find Pokemon to deal with fighting Pokemon. Notably, Mega Floette. Mega Floette Eternal is a Pokemon that feels like it shouldn't be in this metagame. It is just a little too strong in my opinion. Mega Floette Eternal has a 155 base special attack stat, a 102 base speed, meaning it speed ties with Garchomp, and 148 special defense, and beyond that, it has 74 HP and 87 defense. It is built like Fluttermane if Fluttermane was able to sacrifice a little bit of speed for extra bulk, which it used to do with its EVs anyways, but in Mega Floette's case, it doesn't need the speed tier of Fluttermane to get as much value as Fluttermane would, because this dex is inherently a lot slower. A single Calm Mind allows for Mega Floette with Fairy Aura to start one-shotting Pokemon like Incineroar and Kingambit with Moonblast. Moonblast coming from this thing is stupidly powerful, and it hardly needs any investment. I think I run like a modest nature with just a little bit of special attack investment and most investment in bulk, and after that single Calm Mind, this Floette just feels like it can one-shot basically anything. Like, you get really confident with it, and if you put Helping Hand with it and just go for Dazzling Gleam, you're going to be doing a lot of damage to a lot of Pokemon. Farigiraf gets 2-hit KO'd, Kingambit will get 2-hit KO'd, Incineroar will get 2-hit KO'd, Sinistcha will get 2-hit KO'd. It is a 2-hit KOing monster at just +1, and that is very easy to get off with this Pokemon, as it pairs super well with Mousehold with Friend Guard and Sinistcha, who can redirect attacks for it, set up Trick Room if necessary if you're running a slower one, and just heal it with its ability Hospitality. Mega Floette is that powerful. It's similar to Charizard in that there aren't a lot of spread special attackers with stupid damage output like we're used to in Generation 9. There's also just not a lot of fairy types in this game. Mega Floette is really easy to put on your team as a second Mega Pokemon, because if you're already running an archetype with a Garchomp, with a Kingambit, with a Sneasler, and a Tailwind user, you can just throw Floette on there as a secondary Mega if you have a Mega as your other 6th Pokemon. It just does everything it needs to do in this metagame, and like its absurd damage output is enough. Let it be in the top 4 in my opinion. All right, top 3. This is where things get controversial. Once again, I am not including Incineroar on this list because Incineroar would be number 1, and that's boring. So yeah, number 3, Garchomp. I think anything in the top 3 could be number 1, frankly. Like, all these Pokemon are stupidly powerful and just hold this format together. These are the glue Pokemon. These are the Pokemon that you get sick of seeing game to game, but the reason they're being seen game to game is because they're what the metagame revolves around. They are the Pokemon you counter. They are the Pokemon you run. They're the Pokemon who just support each other super well. I would say Garchomp is the Pokemon that sets the pace for this entire game. 102 base speed with a 130 attack stat, incredible bulk all around, rough skin to break focus sashes if you ever try to go for a fake out onto it with Sneasler, because it's going to have to take that rough skin damage. It's just got a lot going for it. It has the ability to outspeed and one-shot Mega Charizard Y with Rock Slide unless you invest to live the hit. It has the ability to one-shot Sneasler. It has the ability to deal major damage to Incineroar, Mega Gengar, and Kingambit. It is a Pokemon that you kind of play like a queen. You play it aggressively when you need to take KOs, but honestly, sometimes you just keep it in the back. It is a Pokemon that can do whatever it needs to do to win a match, and it has the bulk to give it wiggle room to play sometimes a little bit more recklessly. It pairs well with a ton of teams. Like, it works well on Tailwind Hyper Offense, it works well on Balance, it works well on Sand. It is a Pokemon that just holds this game together. It is the glue of the game besides Incineroar. It can run a variety of items. We've seen Roselli Berry, we've seen Focus Sash, we've seen Choice Scarf. I've even seen Bright Powder Sand Veil. That is a set that Garchomp runs. After a single Swords Dance, Earthquake is able to KO a lot of Pokemon in this game, and the fact that the lack of items in this game forces Garchomp to sometimes run White Herb means that Garchomp is really well positioned to just get a free +2 without having to worry about Intimidate on turn 0. It's just a great Pokemon. And like I said, like, it could be number 2 or number 1, but I think that the other Pokemon have a little bit more of a case to be made for them. At number 2, we have a bit of a one-trick pony, but man, it's a strong pony. It is a terrifying pony. Basculegion. Basculegion is a Pokemon who scales well in the late game. However, it even plays well on lead. Basculegion will typically run either the Mystic Water or the Choice Scarf, with the majority of players going with the Choice Scarf. Its 78 base speed and 112 attack don't seem incredible. However, its 120 HP actually gives it a lot of bulk, where it can be a little bit reckless at times. That being said, Basculegion is one of the safest Pokemon in the game to lead with because Choice Scarf allows it to outspeed the vast majority of Pokemon in the game, and its Ghost typing leaves it immune to Fake Out, meaning that if you lead it with another offensive Pokemon, a Fake Out user, or even a Redirector, Basculegion can either take a free KO with Wave Crash, adaptability boosted Wave Crash, which, mind you, turns Wave Crash from a 120 base power move to a 240 base power move off of its 112 attack, or it can just flip turn out of there and reposition for late game. Its flip turns do incredible damage in rain as it pairs super well with Pelipper, but even non-rain teams will run Basculegion as adaptability stacked with the move Last Respects means that in the late game, Basculegion could just come out and clean up the board. Last Respects is a move Basculegion runs that has 50 base power at the start of the match, meaning that you probably don't want to click it turn 1, but as you lose Pokemon, each knocked out Pokemon on your team will grant this move 50 more base power, meaning that if Basculegion is one of your 2 last Pokemon, then it will have access to a 150 base power Wave Crash, which, if you add adaptability to it, becomes a 300 power move, or if it's your final Pokemon, Basculegion has access to a 200 power Last Respects, which becomes 400 power after adaptability. Its bulk combined with the Choice Scarf means that it can just take out the Pokemon that's threatening it more, probably live the hit from the other Pokemon, and then win the game. Basculegion is an absurdly powerful Pokemon that just gets better as the game goes on. Yes, it's countered by Kingambit. Yes, it does not like to have to deal with a Machigacha in Trick Room. But the fact that so many teams run Basculegion that it is top 5 in usage means that Basculegion is just that guy. It can even KO Charizard Y in Sun with adaptability boosted Wave Crash. Sun cuts the damage of water type moves in half. It's just that strong. Yeah, Basculegion is just him. Finally, at number 1, our number 1 Pokemon in the format besides Incineroar, because Incineroar would be number 1, is Sneasler. And I think we all saw this coming. However, unlike Generation 9, I think Sneasler is a lot more honorable of a Pokemon. So Sneasler has the signature move called Dire Claw. Dire Claw used to be a 50% chance to status, with it either being sleep, poison, or paralysis. It's since been nerfed to a 30% chance, which doesn't sound like a huge decrease in likelihood, but in practice, it means that you can't rely on it to cheese out a victory. Before, when in doubt, Dire Claw was a really popular mantra. But now Sneasler plays a lot more fair. Dire Claw is a really annoying move as it does give you a little mini heart attack every time you have it clicked into you, but what Sneasler mostly does at the moment is lead off with Fake Out, support Pokemon with coaching, and above all else just act as an anti-Incineroar button, an anti-Kingambit button, and an anti-Tyranitar and Excadrill button by being able to go for close combat. It can either hold the Focus Sash or the White Herb, though I believe the White Herb is more used at the moment. And that's because with the Focus Sash, if it goes down to Sash, its ability Unburden allows it double speed, meaning that even if the opponent sets up Tailwind, Sneasler will still outspeed any Pokemon lower than its original base speed. This includes Pokemon like Charizard, Garchomp, Whimsicott. A lot of Pokemon in this game do not want to have to deal with an Unburden boosted Sneasler. And it just has access to a lot of really good support moves. It has Taunt, it has Coaching, it's got like a lot of tricks it can do. But above all else, it really just is that stat combination. Its 120 base speed combined with its 130 attack, its ability to use the White Herb to not only double its speed, but ignore and intimidate from Incineroar and still one-shot the Incineroar, means that it is just kind of holding this format together as like an all-arounder Pokemon. It plays a little bit of support, it plays a little bit of damage, and it's just able to deal with a lot of problem Pokemon. Kingambit wouldn't have a lot of checks if it were not for this Pokemon. Floette would be running around a lot more recklessly if it weren't for the fact that Sneasler can outspeed a Tailwind Floette if it gets the Unburden boost. And just its toolkit combined with its high damage output means that it is a very solid Pokemon just to slap on as a 6th Mon. It just is that useful of a Pokemon. Fake Out is just that strong. Close Combat off a 130 attack is just that strong. And Dire Claw still sometimes cheeses out games. He really is that good of a Pokemon, and it feels like the glue that holds the format together in the same way that Garchomp does, just with a little bit more support added on. That being said, Incineroar is the ultimate glue, so Incineroar is number 0 on this list. But that's just my opinion about the top 10 Pokemon in Pokemon Champions. I'm sure that some people would drop a couple of Pokemon from my list in exchange for some Pokemon I put in the honorable mentions. If you have a disagreement, let me know in the comment section down below. This is just my opinion. I've been playing the game for, I think I have well over 100 hours at this point, and it's been like a week. I probably have more hours than most people. I've been streaming about 4 hours a day and practicing for tournaments on this game. So yeah, if you guys enjoy, leave a like, subscribe, turn notifications, and let me know what you think in the comment section down below. If you want to support me further, check out my Patreon page, do whatever. Thank you so much for watching. Goodbye.